The small flag in 8-year-old Ahmed's school backpack was about to turn the entire school upside down and change his innocence forever. Ahmed woke up early in the morning. While eating the breakfast his mother had prepared for him, he touched the small Palestinian flag next to his backpack. His grandfather had given him this flag as a gift. "This is your identity, Ahmed," he had said. "Carry it with pride." His steps were light as he walked to school. His classmates had noticed the colorful flag on his backpack before, but today something was different. But what he didn't know yet was that today wouldn't be an ordinary day. The first class was going to be math. As soon as Ahmed sat at his desk, his teacher, Mrs. Johnson, approached. Her eyes were locked on the flag on his backpack. "Ahmed, can we talk for a moment?" she said, her voice trembling. The other kids in the class were watching curiously. Ahmed stood up, his heart beating fast. They stood by the door. "What is that thing on your backpack?" Mrs. Johnson asked, pointing to the flag. "It's the Palestinian flag my grandfather gave me," Ahmed said with an innocent smile. "Isn't it beautiful?" Mrs. Johnson's face tensed. "Ahmed, you can't carry this at school. You need to remove it." "Why?" Ahmed asked, his eyes welling up. "Did I do something wrong?" This is exactly when everything changed. The worry in Mrs. Johnson's voice wasn't coming from just a flag, but from a deeper fear. This might disturb other students, according to school policy. "But I don't want to disturb anyone," Ahmed said, tears streaming down his face. "This is just my grandfather's gift." The other kids in the class moved closer to the door. Sarah, Ahmed's closest friend, asked, "What's happening to Ahmed?" "Nothing. Go back to your seats," the teacher said in a stern voice. But what was really shocking was the appearance of the assistant principal at the door. Mr. Davis approached with quick steps. "Mrs. Johnson, what's going on here?" "Ahmed has a problematic symbol on his backpack," the teacher said in a low voice. Ahmed didn't understand anything. "My grandfather told me this flag was something to be proud of. He said it represents our ancestors' land." "Ahmed," Mr. Davis said, crouching down to his level, "we have some rules here. It would be better if you left this flag at home." "But why?" "I didn't do anything wrong. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet." Other students coming out of the classroom began gathering in the hallway. Some supported Ahmed, while others looked on without understanding. "This isn't fair," Sarah shouted. "Ahmed's flag isn't bothering anyone." Marcus, one of the most popular kids in class, asked, "I have a British flag at home too. Can't I bring that either?" Mrs. Johnson's face turned red. This is different. This situation is more complicated." "Why is it complicated?" Ahmed asked with innocent eyes. "It's just a flag." "My grandfather told me Palestine is a very beautiful place. It has olive trees, orange groves." "Wait a minute. Don't miss this detail." At that moment, other teachers walking in the school hallway began to notice the situation. Mrs. Garcia, the Spanish teacher, approached. "What's going on here?" "Ahmed has a Palestinian flag on his backpack," Mr. Davis said in a low voice. Mrs. Garcia frowned. "And? Is this a problem?" "School policy." "What policy?" Mrs. Garcia asked. "I haven't seen any such policy anywhere." Ahmed was now even more confused. Why were the adults arguing about his flag? It was just his grandfather's gift. What you're seeing now is nothing. Students from other classes also began coming out into the hallway. The news was spreading. "They're trying to take Ahmed's flag." Emma from 4th grade said, "This is so silly. I have a Mexican flag. Tommy has an Irish flag." "Yes," David added, "I brought an Israeli flag last month. Nobody said anything." These words changed Mr. Davis's expression. "You won't believe it, but this is where the real truth was coming out." This situation is different," Mr. Davis said, with tension in his voice. "The Palestinian flag could create controversial issues." "Why controversial?" Ahmed asked, now starting to cry. "I don't want to argue with anyone." Sarah stood by Ahmed's side. "This isn't fair at all. Ahmed is one of the best kids. He helps everyone. He doesn't hurt anyone." Mrs. Garcia moved even closer. "Mr. Davis, this child is only 8 years old. It's not right for us to treat him like this." But there was something he didn't know yet. Among the children gathered in the hallway, most supported Ahmed's situation. For them, Ahmed was just their friend. Flags weren't political tools. "You're being unfair to Ahmed," Marcus shouted. "He never did anything wrong." "Yes," Sophie added. "Ahmed helped me with my math homework. He has such a good heart." Mr. Davis put his head in his hands. The situation was getting out of control. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Sounds could be heard from the school's main entrance. "Who is it?" Mrs. Johnson asked. The secretary came running. "Ahmed's mother is here." She says someone called her. Ahmed's heart beat fast. His mother, who had told her. His life was about to change when the phone rang. Sarah's mother had heard about the incident and called Ahmed's mother. A few minutes later, Ahmed's mother, Mrs. Layla, appeared in the hallway. She wore a headscarf and had a calm but worried expression on her face. "My Ahmed, what's happening here?" Ahmed ran into his mother's arms. "Mom, they're trying to take the flag from my backpack. But I didn't do anything wrong." After Mrs. Layla calmed her son, she turned to Mr. Davis. "Can you explain what's happening?" "Mrs. Ahmed, I'm sorry, did I pronounce your name correctly?" "Layla. And our last name is Hassan." "Mrs. Hassan, we thought the symbol on your son's backpack might disturb other students." "Which students?" Mrs. Layla asked in a calm but determined voice. "Because all the children I see here are supporting my son." The fear in the man's eyes could no longer be hidden. Mr. Davis couldn't explain the real reasons. "Actually, the school administration." "What policy?" Mrs. Layla asked. "Please show me that policy." Mrs. Garcia interjected. "I'm curious, too. I've been working at this school for 15 years. I haven't seen such a policy." This is exactly when everything changed. Mrs. Layla took her phone out of her purse. "I want to speak with the school principal. If such a policy exists, I want to see it in writing." Ahmed felt a little relieved seeing his mother's courage. But what was really shocking were the footsteps coming from the end of the hallway. Principal Mrs. Thompson was approaching with quick steps. She had a worried expression on her face. "What's going on here? Why are all the students in the hallway?" Mr. Davis cleared his throat. "Ahmed has a Palestinian flag on his backpack and, Mrs. Thompson said, "is this a problem?" The silence in the hallway was heavy. All the children, teachers, Ahmed's mother, everyone was waiting for the principal's reaction. "No," Mrs. Thompson said in a determined voice. "This is not a problem at all. What you're seeing now is nothing." Mr. Davis's face suddenly changed. "But school policy." "What policy, Mr. Davis?" Mrs. Thompson asked in a stern voice. "What policy prohibits children from expressing their cultural identities?" Mrs. Layla breathed a sigh of relief. Ahmed wiped his eyes. "Ahmed," Mrs. Thompson said, crouching down to face him, "where does your father work?" "At the hospital as a doctor," Ahmed said proudly. "He heals very sick people." "And look at your mother. What a beautiful woman. You're a lucky child." Ahmed smiled. "My grandfather also tells very beautiful stories about the olive trees in Palestine. You won't believe it, but Mrs. Thompson's eyes filled with tears. You know, Ahmed, my grandfather was also an immigrant. He came here from Ireland. He also told me never to forget my culture." The children in the hallway began to relax. Sarah came to Ahmed's side and squeezed his hand. "Can I continue carrying my grandfather's flag?" Ahmed asked. "Of course," Mrs. Thompson said. "This is your right." "Wait a minute, don't miss this detail." Mr. Davis still looked uncomfortable. "But Mrs. Thompson, some parents—" "Which parents?" the principal asked. "If a parent can't show respect for a child's cultural identity, then I'll talk to them." Mrs. Garcia smiled. "I think this was a very good teaching moment for all of us." But there was something he didn't know yet. This incident would be a turning point not just for Ahmed, but for the entire school. "Actually," Mrs. Thompson said thoughtfully, "maybe we should organize a cultural day next week. All children can share their cultures." The children looked at each other excitedly. Emma said, "I can share my Mexican culture." Marcus, "And I can share British traditions." David, "And I can share my Jewish culture." Ahmed was now completely smiling. "You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet." Mom, Ahmed said, turning to his mother, maybe I can bring grandfather to school too. He knows very beautiful stories. Mrs. Layla hugged her son. I'm sure he'd be very happy to. Mrs. Thompson stood up. Mr. Davis, we need to talk in my office. Mr. Davis's face paled. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. This time, there was a different sound at the door. The secretary came running again. Mrs. Thompson, a reporter from the newspaper, has arrived. He heard about Ahmed's story. Everyone had learned the truth, but the real shock. A journalist? Mrs. Layla asked in surprise. Mrs. Thompson took a deep breath. I think this story is going to become much bigger than just our school. Ahmed looked at his mother with confusion. Is this a good thing, Mom? I don't know, son, Mrs. Layla said. But you did nothing wrong. Know that. When they thought it was over, Sarah's mother also appeared at school. Mrs. Layla, Sarah called me and told me what happened. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Mrs. Layla said. But I think it's resolved now. No, Sarah's mother said determinedly. This is just the beginning. The injustice done to this child is unacceptable, Mrs. Garcia interjected. Maybe this incident was a wake-up call for us. As a school, we need to be more inclusive. The voice on the phone was familiar, but this time the secretary brought different news. Mrs. Thompson, the school district superintendent, is on the phone. He heard about Ahmed's situation. Everyone's face tensed. It wasn't clear where this would lead anymore. Ahmed's heart began beating fast again. Mom, I just wanted to carry my flag. I know, son, Mrs. Layla said, calming him. You did the right thing. Before going to the phone, Mrs. Thompson turned to Ahmed. Ahmed, I promise, you will continue to carry that flag. No one will ever give you trouble for it again. But what was really shocking was this. All the children in the hallway began to applaud. Ahmed, 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 they chanted. Sarah said, You're my bravest friend. Marcus, yes, you taught us what standing up means. Ahmed was crying now, but these were tears of joy. You won't believe it, but Mrs. Garcia had tears in her eyes too. These children put us to shame, she said to herself. They're much more understanding than adults. Mrs. Layla thanked Mrs. Thompson. Thank you so much for your support. I should thank you, the principal said. Ahmed taught us a very important lesson today. What you're seeing now is nothing. Ahmed touched the small flag on his backpack. Now he could carry it with pride. My grandfather will be so happy when he hears this story, he said, smiling. Sarah squeezed his hand. And now we're all friends. None of us are different from each other. As Mrs. Thompson went to the phone, she called back, Ahmed, we're expecting your grandfather at school on Monday too. We're very curious about his stories. Ahmed's face lit up. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Really? Will grandfather come? Of course, his mother said, and I'm sure he'll tell wonderful stories. This is exactly when everything changed. This small incident would cause a transformation not just for Ahmed, but for the entire school. As the children returned to their classrooms, Ahmed looked at the flag on his backpack one last time. This was no longer just a flag. It was a symbol of his identity, his courage, and the power of friendship. And perhaps most importantly, it was proof that an 8-year-old child could have a much bigger heart than adults.